Welcome to our February 2nd webinar in our Inspirational Authorship 7 series. This is our first lesson on grammar, which I know you're going to love. But before I talk about that, I'll introduce myself. I'm Joyce Ross from Kindness is Key Training and Publishing, and this is my mission partner and best friend, Patricia Connor.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, you're going to have to speak loudly because I guess you're going to be sharing my microphone at the moment. Okay.
Can you hear me or not? That's a good question. Go ahead, Joy. Go ahead.
They're just ignoring us. Okay. So learning grammar isn't about becoming an expert. I'm not an expert. I just really love to know about grammar so that I feel empowered when I'm writing. So I know what's a complete sentence, what's a run-on sentence, what's a comma splice, and how to use punctuation. Those are really the things that are most important to me. So this is what I want to share with you and gift to you is my knowledge of that. And you'll also find, Patricia asked earlier when we were muted, she was happy to hear we weren't going to just talk about grammar. So we'll learn things like vivid action verbs and how to apply the pieces of grammar that we're learning to your writing. So your writing gets stronger and more vivid and concise, which is really important. So, well, depending. But anyway, so you're excited about that. I'm sure the rest of you are too. So we're doing something a bit different tonight. Instead of showing a movie, we're going to work with a PowerPoint that I'm going to talk about the various slides as we go through. Now we're doing this to allow you the opportunity to ask questions live. And don't make them too complicated, because remember, I'm not a total expert. I just know a lot about grammar. So we'll get started. Patricia, do you want to say anything before I put the slide?
I'm looking forward to it because we've been through this now. We've published our third book. And it's amazing the difference that it makes when you know a few rules in grammar, and you can learn to express yourself, or you can express yourself a little bit better just by using the proper punctuation.
That's right. Yeah, good point. Okay, so after the slideshow, we'll come back and still answer some questions if you have any. And in the meantime, Patricia's got a separate computer here, and she's going to be looking at anything that you put into the chat.
So I'll be monitoring the questions, so feel free to ask. And when we come back and Joy has finished with her lesson, then we will answer any questions you may have. So,
okay, so let's go. So one of the first things, I'm trying to give you a foundation and a base to a lot of the things we'll talk about later. So punctuation, grammar, terms, etc. And to do that, I need to teach you the 8 parts of speech. And because the 8 parts of speech are not super fun to learn, we're only going to look at 4 of the 8 parts of speech tonight, which are nouns, verbs, pronouns, and adjectives. And I'll tell you more about that in a minute. Then we're going to look at the first lesson in taking the mystery out of the punctuation dance. And so part 1 is periods, question marks, and exclamation points. Now, I know everybody's favorite thing is an exclamation point, so I'll talk about that later. So some new authors think that grammar can be confusing, and they're right. So grammar style books often contradict one another, drives me insane. Some internet grammar sites contain incorrect information, so makes me confused. And what is considered correct punctuation differs between English-speaking countries. So basically, yikes. And some new authors think that paying attention to punctuation takes the fun out of writing, and they might be right, because I love this sign. It made me laugh. Hunters, please use caution when hunting pedestrians using walk trails. Better run those pedestrians, not walk. Okay, so Canada and the United States, periods and commas go inside a closing quotation mark. So the quotation marks are those funny little inverted commas you see on either side of the sentence. So here's an example. I'm confused, said Tom. In Britain, these punctuation marks generally go outside a closing quotation mark. As well, single inverted commas are more common in British English, while American English tends to prefer double ones. So here we go. You see that example of I'm confused? Looks a little bit funny with the apostrophe and the inverted comma around I. So that's the difference. It's huge. Adding to the confusion, among English-speaking countries, there are differences between the preferred spelling of some words. So for instance, in Canada, we like to spell paralyze with a Z-E on the end. In Britain, they prefer an S-E on the end. And in the United States, they prefer Z-E on the end. And you can just go through that list. And I just want to say to you too that after this lesson, so tomorrow you'll get the webinar replay sent out to you, the link. You will also get an email from us. And in that email, you will find this PowerPoint so that you can go over it and have it to refer back to. So we'll send you the actual PowerPoint so that you'll have it for future reference. So the number of potential readers in the United States is 10 times greater than in Canada. So unless your target audience is Canadians, you'd be wise to use American spelling, which is what we do with our the Heartmind Wisdom Inspirational Anthology collection. So here's some trusted grammar reference sources, because I'm going to, tell you a lot of things tonight, which is going to get you curious about a lot more rules, etc. And these are some sites that I go to when I need to look something up. So style books are great, and most of them can be purchased through Amazon.com or in your local bookstore. And a lot of them offer free information right on the internet. So, look around on the internet when you're looking for grammar information. But if you want to get a book, popular style books in Canada include the Chicago Manual of Style and the Elements of Style. The Chicago Manual of Style is much more comprehensive. The Elements of Style is a great one to just have on hand or to read at the beach when you try to learn more about grammar. Just kidding. And then for newspaper writing, you want to look to the CP style book, the Canadian Press. Now remember, all these three countries I'm going to talk about, Canada, England, and the United States, differ in their punctuation and preferred spelling. And so you want to be aware of where you're writing for, your main audience, and the different books. So popular in the United States, we have the Chicago Manual of Style and the Elements of Style still, and newspapers, the Associated Press Style Book. Now going over to England, popular style books in the United Kingdom include the King's English and the Oxford Style Manual. And for newspapers, they prefer copy editing, the Cambridge Handbook for editors, authors, and publishers. Just some differences for you to be aware of. When you're looking up a word, if you're writing to a British or Canadian audience, you probably want to refer to the Oxford Dictionary, and when you're and their thesaurus. So there we have those. Oh, no, I'm lying. No, I'm not lying. So there they are. So those are word definitions, and I don't know where it says Oxford, but that's really what that's from. And when you're looking for American spelling, or, oh no, see, I was lying. That's just a general terminology. I should review this more carefully. So these are just general word definitions. They're not going to really tell you which country they belong to. So word definitions, sometimes you type in what is the meaning of interrobang, and you don't know what that is. So you would type it in and it'll just give you a general term, but it might be spelled differently in different countries. So if you're looking for a similar word called synonyms, you want to look in your thesaurus, and it'll help you find different words. So you can just type in thesaurus and then whatever word you're looking for, or synonym, and then whatever word you're looking for. Here we are. American spelling, you want to go to the Merriam-Webster dictionary and just type your word in there, and they'll give you a brief explanation. And for English and Canadian, or for Britain and Canada, go to your Oxford dictionaries. Those are your best sources. Now, this is a fun sheet. This is the Canadian, British, and American preferred spelling. And you can see that they have in the purple part, under letter, it says A, B, C, D. So those are words starting with A, B, C, D, E, etc. So they have 31 words that start with the letter A that are different enough in preferred spelling between Britain and Canada and the United States that they've listed them. So you can see there's a lot of words that you need to be aware of. It's just fun sometimes for me to just kind of thumb through them and get familiar with words that I may not know are spelled differently between countries. And it's particularly hard if you're a Canadian author. It just drives us crazy. because Canada's market is relatively small, so we normally are writing for a larger audience, which is the US. So Canadians have to be aware of a lot of things, where if you were writing and you were born in the United States, you wouldn't even be worrying about this. So you'd be still worrying about the difference between Britain and American, but you wouldn't be worrying about the Canadians. So there you go. Now, Grammar Girl is one of my favorite people to go to for definitions and ideas about punctuation, etc. Really easy to find her. Just type in Grammar Girl and then your question. So I just go into my search bar, type in Grammar Girl, difference between who and whom. Pretty easy, or that's her website right there. She's pretty trustworthy, that one. Daily writing tips is very easy to understand and gives really concise definitions about different things. And one of the wonderful things that I like to do is to check with Grammar Girl and check with Daily Writing Tips. So I get two people's opinion on a question that I'm looking up. The Wise Geek is someone I've just added to my little bag of tricks. He seems to know a lot, so I like him too. Trust what he has to say. And then we have the Blue Book of Grammar, which is another one of my very favorites. And the problem with this one is they keep trying to get you to download the whole book, which you're welcome to do. And I really just want to look up whatever it is I want to look up at that moment. So what I do is I type in Blue Book Grammar and then whatever the question is. So again, perhaps who versus whom. So there's some trusted sources for you. Now we're going to move on to the 8 parts of speech, which I know you're going to love. So we're going to talk about nouns, verbs, pronouns, adjectives. Next week will be adverbs, prepositions, interjections, and conjunctions. So you might be wondering, why should I care about the 8 parts of speech? So here's why. The 8 parts of speech are the foundation for the grammar rules that apply to the English language. For instance, to make an educated decision about punctuation, choice, and placement, you must know which of the 8 parts of speech are required for a group of words to be considered a complete or standalone sentence. Otherwise, you might unwittingly craft run-on sentences, comma splices, and fragment sentences. And in case you aren't aware, there's a grammar jail. It's better known as Pay an Editor Forever jail. See, here we are. We got these poor stickmen. They're locked up. One's in. I'm in for ending a sentence with a preposition. What are you in for? Now, those of you that know what a preposition is knows that the word for is one of them. And the other guy says, oh, stupid grammar stuff. I killed some stories with comma splices, run-on sentences, fragmented a few. I had fun putting that together. So the 8 parts of speech. Traditional grammar classifies words based on the 8 parts of speech: the noun, the verb, the pronoun, the adjective, the adverb, the preposition, the conjunction, and the interjection. And I'm repeating these because I'm getting them into your head. So each part of speech explains how the word is used in a sentence. In this, okay, I've already told you this. We're going to look at the noun, the verb, the pronoun, and the adjective. So a noun. A noun is a word used to name a person, animal, place, thing, or an abstract idea. So the one that always gets most of us is that we forget about the abstract idea part of a noun. So there are 2 broad categories. Things that we identify through our 5 senses, which are sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell, are called concrete nouns. Intangible experiences and emotions are referred to as abstract nouns. So I just want to stop and give a note right here, and that is that whenever I'm giving you a heading, title, and an example, the bolded words are going to be the ones that refer to whatever is named in the heading. So, for instance, the first one, friend and dog, under concrete nouns. Friend and dog are concrete nouns. Mark Twain, he's a person, concrete noun. American writer, concrete noun. Waitress, drinks. Those are all concrete nouns because we can see, sound, see, feel, touch them, etc. Right? So they're concrete, things we can see in the physical world or experience in the physical world. Abstract nouns are things you can't really experience in the physical world. So we have, for instance, philosophy is a little, comfort is another abstract noun, starving. I mean, you might be able to feel yourself starving, but the starving, you wouldn't be able to really feel or experience in the concrete world. Love is something I try to experience in the concrete world. Love is an irresistible desire to be irresistibly desired. That's a Robert Frost quote. So those are again examples of abstract nouns. Love, desire, desired. Perseverance and dedication require sacrifice. So perseverance and dedication and sacrifice are all abstract nouns. Pretty simple stuff. You got any questions on that, Patricia?
Not yet. Everybody's listening attentively.
No, just wondering if you had any.
Oh, me?
Yeah, personally, do you have anything on nouns?
I have a question on the thesaurus.
Okay.
Does the thesaurus indicate which words are British or which words are
No.
used more? No.
No, it would if you had the Oxford thesaurus, then it would do British.
Thesaurus,
But-
is that mainly an American?
On the one that I showed you online that you're going back to, the one online is just general. That's why I said you have to then look up the words that they tell you are similar and check out the spelling.
Okay.
Yeah, because no, you're right. I mean, if you get an American thesaurus like a Merriam-Webster one, they'll be American. If you get an Oxford, they'll be British. And then you'll still have to look up preferred Canadian because we go all over the place. We're like a ping pong ball. Good question. Okay, nouns. We're moving on to noun. Oh, we did that. Better not move on to that one. A verb is a word used to convey an action, occurrence, or state of being. Of all of the parts of speech, verbs drive me the craziest. There's so much to know about verbs. But don't worry, I'm not going to teach it all to you. I just want you to be aware that if you are a curious person and you want to study grammar, there's a lot more about verbs that you can benefit from knowing about that I'm going to teach you. So verbs tell us what nouns are doing or experiencing. So an action verb expresses physical, and here's the other one people get tripped up on, or mental action. And I'm going to show you that in a second. And an action verb relays what the subject of a clause or sentence is doing physically or mentally. So for instance, he ran is obviously a physical verb. She chased him. Chased is your verb, physical verb. The storm flooded our basement, physical verb. Brian's students performed expertly. Performed is a physical verb. She is thinking about it. See, there's where we get tripped up because now we're into what is really mental action, right? So you can't really see it, but you can, the person is doing it, so you can identify it. And he contemplated the idea. So those are some examples. So as part of our next grammar lesson, we're going to explore how to use vivid action verbs to tighten and strengthen your writing. So just want to keep reminding you, we're not just studying grammar. We're having some fun with writing and applying what we're learning. So an occurrence verb. So we're going to move on to an occurrence verb. So at the top, you're just going to see a repeat of what a verb is. So the verb is an action, occurrence, or state of being. So we've already gone over action. Now we're going to look at occurrence. So here's some occurrence verb examples. Occurrence verbs are become, change, and happen. So he became a professional dancer. It happened last night. The weather changed. Pretty easy. Okay, so now we're looking at state of being verb examples. And this is verbs that don't express an action. So they include verbs, the verbs be, exist, seem, appear, and feel. So here's some examples of state of being verbs. Blue whales are the largest animals on Earth. So blue whales are, so are is your state of being verb, the largest animals on Earth. He is skilled. That's your state of being verb. I was wrong. I've never said that before.
I was wrong?
Yeah.
Yes, I know. That's why I didn't recognize it.
You didn't recognize that verb? Yeah. I am. I am is actually the shortest complete sentence in the English language, in that it has a subject and a verb, and it's just 3 little words. So I am is actually a complete sentence. They were angry. So were is your state of being verb. I feel sick. State of being is feeling sick. So feel. He seems likable. State of being, seems. She appeared tired. Don't worry, we're not going to be on this long. So here are the most common state of being verbs, and it's the verb to be. So if you think of I am, that's the present tense of to be. If you think of you are, that's the present tense. Well, I'm in the middle, or the third column over for you. You are, that's the present tense. He, she, it is, that's the present tense. And I know you can read, so you know we are, you are, they are, all present tense. Past tense of the verb to be is was, were, were. So I was, you were, he, she, it was, etc. You probably know this stuff like the back of your hand, but I just want to draw to your attention that they're verbs, so that when you're trying to figure out what the verb is in a sentence, you'll be able to identify the most common one, which is the state of being verb. And future tense is simply will be. So I will be, you will be, he will be, it will be, etc. So that's it. If you want to look at that more, you can refer to it when you get your PowerPoint handout. Oh, I wanted to break from grammar, so I put this in. So Patricia, would you like to read it?
In case you need a break from learning grammar, here's a point to ponder. A sideways 8 closely resembles the infinity symbol. Okay, back to the 8 parts of the sentence.
Well, I think that's interesting, don't you?
Very interesting.
I'll tell you why later. Okay, pronoun. A pronoun can replace a noun or another pronoun. So grammarians classify pronouns into several types. All you're doing here is don't worry about what they're called. I'm just giving them to you so that you're familiar with what pronouns are. So a subjective personal pronoun, and remember the subject is the person or thing performing the action. So the subjective personal pronouns are I, you, she, he, it, we, you, they. The objective personal pronouns, and remember an object is the person or thing receiving the action. So we've had this lesson before. So the object is one being given something, for instance. So he gave it to me. So he would be the subject, gave it would be your verb, and me would be your object. So the objective personal pronouns are me, you, her, him, it, us, you, them. Possessive pronouns, we all know, mine, yours, hers, his, its, ours, theirs. Demonstrative pronouns. Now, the demonstrative pronoun tells us whether it is replacing a singular or plural noun and whether that thing is close or farther away. So it's this, these, that, those. Those trees, this book. Interrogative, and can you say that word for me? Interrogative? Yeah, I guess that's how you say that word. I read this word, I never say it. Our pronouns are who, whom, which, what, whoever, whomever, whichever, whatever. And interrogative, I just slow down my mouth. Pronoun is used to ask questions. So that's all you need to know. Just recognize that, hey, those are pronouns. An adjective describes, identifies, or quantifies a noun or a pronoun. So here's some examples of describing adjectives. I like purple flowers. It's very specific. And I do actually. Irises are my favorite. My car is yellow. That's because it's a lemon. No? Quantifying. I am referring to all of the stories. So not just these stories, all of the stories. And he has a little knowledge. So your noun there is knowledge and little is your adjective. Identifying. I want that one. So that becomes your identifying adjective. Those shoes are the ones I want. It's not rocket science, but it can be crazy making. And here's one of the reasons. So the same word in the English language can be a noun in one sentence, a verb in the next, and an adjective in the next. So here's an example using the answer as a verb, a noun, and an adjective. So I couldn't give him an immediate answer. So answer there is the noun. It's the person, place, or thing. I was surprised when he answered my letter. Answered there is a verb because it's the action that's happening. Do not write on the front of the answer sheet. So there's answer is being used as an adjective because it's describing what kind of sheet. Pretty interesting, don't you think? Yeah. Welcome to English and grammar. Okay, let's go to some fun stuff. Infinity is the quality of having no limits or end. So infinity is much like writing. From the past to the future, from Earth to space, from happy to sad, there are no limits regarding where an author can take a reader.
Very clever.
I know. That's why we love the infinity symbol. Well, that and many other reasons, but it's an inspirational writing class or grammar class. So I figured that everybody listening is going to know what the infinity symbol is anyhow. They'll all get why that's significant for us. Okay, let's go to punctuation because it saves lives. So you can see in this silly little picture with Grandma and all her little granny kids, let's eat Grandma without punctuation would probably be frightening for Grandma. And then let's eat, comma, Grandma.
Huge difference.
It's a huge difference, and the difference is just a comma. So one of the reasons I always remember where to put the comma placement is in when you're signing off on an email or something and you go, love, joy. So if I just write love, joy, that's expressing love, for me, love me, right? Or to love, joy is the emotion. But if I put a comma, it means I'm wishing you love, joy. It's very interesting. So okay, punctuation prevents unclear run-on sentences. So on the first picture on the left, we have two women talking. You can tell that they're not like really in super moods at the moment. So the sentence at the top says, I was insistent, we left. So if you look down below, it says this statement doesn't indicate whether the woman left. Just says, I was insistent, we left. But if you look over to the right, if what the woman had really meant to say was, I was insistent, semicolon, we left, we know that she was insistent, and so they actually took action. They left. And you could also use a period if you wanted to indicate that truism. So I was insistent, period, we left. And so with punctuations, it's clear that the women left. And the other sentence, it isn't clear.
Right.
Is that clear? Okay, so here's punctuation explanations at the end of sentence uses. So a period, I know you guys are going to think you know all this stuff, and I didn't, so I'm assuming you don't either. So a period indicates a mild command or indirect question. A question mark indicates a direct question. Someone expects an answer, so an answer is expected. And an exclamation mark indicates a sense of urgency, strong emotions, or an imperative. And that's one of those funny words that, it doesn't really matter to you, except for don't be afraid of it, because all it means is a forceful, confident command. That's all that word means in grammar. So a period appears at the end of a statement, mild command, or indirect question. So here we've got a statement. So I am an author is a statement, period. Punky Pink is an unusual name for a boutique chain, period. Here's a mild command. Tell her that I'll be there, period. Go, it'll be fun, period. Indirect question. What type of person would shop at Punky Pink? So someone's just wondering that. So if Patricia and I were having a conversation about some new store in town, and I could just say to her, just thinking out loud, right? Oh, what type of person would shop at Punky Pink? Huh? I'm not asking for an answer. I'm just wondering. And also an indirect question is like a pondering. Who knows what the man will do? It's not really asking, it's just a comment, right? So it's not, the answer is not expected. So you'll notice it doesn't have a question mark. If an answer is not expected, you don't get a question mark. The sentence doesn't. You can have one. So a question mark is placed after a direct question. So someone's expecting an answer, or the writer's expecting an answer. So example, what would you like me to do? You're expecting someone to tell you what to do. Question, this is one of my favorite things, so pay attention, you guys. I really love this so much. So question in a series are each followed by a question mark, even if they are not complete sentences. Now, I didn't learn this till about 2 years ago, and knowing it just empowers me a little bit more with my writing, because I didn't even know you could do this and it was proper English. So what would you like me to do? Scream, cry, run? So I can keep asking questions, right? And it just, like I said, it empowers me for a different way to write a sentence. So these are called add-on questions, and they're not complete sentences, so they aren't usually capitalized. You'll see that the first sentence, what would you like me to do, is capitalized, but the scream question, cry question, run question are all in small letters. So the first word is all in small letters. So that's what you do, except some style books suggest, we're going back to some, suggest capitalizing add-on questions if they are nearly a sentence. For example, if I started out by saying, what would you like me to do? Would it be scream, or maybe cry, or even run? Then I would capitalize by choice.
So if it's only one word, you don't have to capitalize it?
It's whether or not it's nearly a sentence. That's the best they'll tell you. So it could be a fragment. Is a fragment. Okay? Good question, though. Tag question. A tag question is one that follows a statement. So, and when you have a tag question, it turns the whole sentence into a question. So you don't seriously expect me to scream, run, or cry, comma, do you? And here's one that people often have like a comment after they've said something, so made a statement. So that would be ridiculous, right? The person's expecting an answer. So a comma precedes a tag question or tag comment. So just always pay attention to that. So that would be ridiculous, comma, you goof. Wouldn't be a nice thing to say though, but it'd be properly written. Okay. This is a tag comment, the last one, just so you know. Okay, so an exclamation point, we're moving on. Now, okay, I know you guys love these exclamation points, so I really want to talk about them. Is used to communicate an emphatic statement, a forceful utterance, or a strong command. So exclamation point should be used sparingly, i.e. no more than once per page. And that's probably too many. Exclamation points are best reserved for communicating loud shouting, elevated surprise, and extremely emotional commands. So the one thing that I see the most with our authors, if there's an overuse of any piece of grammar, part of punctuation, it's the exclamation point. And you want to find the words to express your sentiments or statements, etc., that are concise and people can understand them and get the full meaning. You want to use the words as opposed to a lot of exclamation points to get your point across about anger or surprise or whatever. So here's some example of the difference. So the interjection, oh, indicates a higher degree of surprise than oh. So you can kind of hear it in your head what your character might be saying or how you might be making a statement in a piece of writing. Here we go again. This command stop indicates a greater urgency than stop. And what about this one? What a mess is more emphatic than what a mess. And here we have another one. Get out, he shouted, and don't you dare come back. An exclamation point should be avoided in formal writing. They're kind of like capital letters. People think you're shouting at them. You don't want to shout at people. Okay, now that we know...
Can we just go back to the exclamation?
We can. Do you love those? Everyone loves those.
Well, yes, but I mean, they really are. We overuse them. For sure.
Super overuse them.
And one thing you said, which I think you said today as well, is that you can actually get your point across with the words instead of using the exclamation point.
Yeah.
Right?
Correct.
You said that, right?
Right.
So that's really good for writing. It's a really good tip for writing because if you take out the exclamation mark, see your sentence and see if it's strong enough without the exclamation mark.
Excellent. And what would you do if you couldn't decide?
Look up it in Grammar Girl.
No, you wouldn't. No. What I do, she's quick. What I do when I can't decide whether or not to put in an exclamation point is I take it out. So when in doubt, leave it out. And it'll force you to write stronger anyhow. Plus your readers, it's kind of, if you ever gone to a comedian who uses a lot of swear words?
Yes.
Okay.
I like that.
No, you don't like it. And to me, it always, I think, weak comedy. Well, that's the same way readers feel about exclamation marks. Weak grammar, weak words. Thank you, Patricia. So now that we know the meaning of different things, we're going to take a look at the difference, the way punctuation changes the simple sentence. So here we have the initial statement is, I am an author. And it's just a statement, right? So I'm an author, right? Got that? The next one is saying, I'm an author? Huh. Like they're expecting a person to go, yeah, you are, and no, you're not. And the third one is, I'm an author. Like, listen to me. I know what I'm talking about. So different, same statement, punctuation really changes the meaning. So here we've got Punky Pink. Punky Pink is an unusual name for a boutique. It's just a statement, right? It's unusual. Punky Pink is Punky Pink is an unusual name for a boutique. It's like someone saying, Patricia might have said to me, Punky Pink, when an unusual name for a boutique. And I might have said, it's an unusual name? Huh. Punky pink is an unusual name for a boutique. So that might be, I didn't say that one right.
Boutique.
Thank you. Punky pink is an unusual name for a boutique. So I might be re-emphasizing that, but you'd have to really want to get your point across, use an exclamation on that statement. Note how the meaning of the initial mild command is altered by a change in the punctuation. So here we go. Tell her that I'll be there. Mild command, just asking someone to pass on a message. Tell her that I'll be there. So Patricia might have said, tell her that you'll be there. And I would be going, tell her that I'll be there. I don't think so. And here's an exclamation. Tell her that I'll be there. And this is how your readers are picking up on your punctuation. So you have to really be aware of what you're relaying. So here's a mild command. Go, it'll be fun. Just saying to Patricia, why don't you go? It'll be fun. And then, Patricia might have said, go, it'll be fun. And I go, it'll be fun? I don't think so. But I probably would have used a exclamation mark for that one. But go, it'll be fun. So all three are always different. The punctuation changes the meaning of the sentence. So here we've got indirect questions. So, and then a direct question and then an explanation. So what type of person would shop at a Punky Pink? What type of person would shop at a Punky Pink? Or what type of person would shop at a Punky Pink? Maybe they sell tattoos or something. Maybe, yeah, do tattoos. And then again, who knows what the man will do? Who knows what the man will do? Or who knows what that man will do? The man will do. Anyways, I'm not the world's best actress. Good thing I'm right. Okay, so here's some fun grammar tidbits. That's it. We're done. Those are your punctuation points for today. Those are your 4 parts of speech for today. We're moving on. So these are the things. If I've got it in here as a grammar tidbit, there's probably a good chance, almost absolute certainty, that Patricia and I had to look it up, because that's where these tidbits come from. So the Oxford and Merriam-Webster dictionaries omit the periods in some abbreviated education titles. Nothing's more frustrating for me than having to look this up every time I edit a book, because I have to, because I can't remember it. However, I know I can find it, so I always go back and look it up. So most grammar style books suggest using a period. Whichever you chose, whether you're going to add periods or not with education titles, just be consistent throughout your whole book. So here's an example. So Doctor of Philosophy would be a PhD. So the PH period, capital D. MD, medical doctor, you guys can see, capital M, capital D. Bachelor of Arts, BA, capital B, capital A. MA, capital A, M and A. And Doctor of Dental Science, those people scare me. That's a DDS. So, and here's something Patricia and I've had to look up a couple of times. So when referring to a university degree, you don't use capital letters unless you're writing the formal name of a particular degree. So example, Tom earned a bachelor's degree in education. So it's not like the formal name. It's just talking about the fact that Tom earned a bachelor's degree in education. But when you're naming the type of degree that Tom has, you write Tom has a Bachelor of Arts degree in education, or whatever that degree actually says in writing. So, and again, you don't have to remember all these things that we're teaching you or bringing up. They're just points to think about when you spot it in your writing and you're not 100% sure. Go back to the reference sources we cited in the beginning and take a look. And I think Patricia's dying to ask me a question.
Well, no, I just saw that Master of Arts, because we had a lot about people writing in Masters of.
Oh, good point. So a lot of people think that there's an apostrophe S after Masters. Which one are you talking about? Master of Arts? But over here you can see there isn't. So if you, like, a lot of people would put in Tom has a bachelor's apostrophe S of arts degree in education. It's not. It's a Bachelor of Arts degree, no apostrophe S there. But if you speak of it in the first way, in the first example, Tom earned a bachelor's degree in education. So 2 different ways to write that, and to be really aware that you can't mix them up. You have to know, if you're going to put down someone's educational degree, you need to know this rule. So just look it up.
I have another question.
Yes.
For example, if we go back to punctuation, can we go back to the last slide? So what was really interesting in listening to the lesson is that Joy was reading it out loud. And that's a real tidbit that we give our writers, and that is when they're looking at their story to read it out loud to see how it sounds. So that's a good idea to do when you have a question mark, a period, or an exclamation mark. When you're checking your work, read it out loud, and that will tell you the punctuation that you need to work.
Yeah, because you'll hear the emphasis. Very good. That's excellent, Patricia. Thank you. I should ask you if you have any questions before I move on. I just saw you were writing, so I thought I would ask. Okay, so this is in the olden days when we sent in manuscripts to publishing houses, we used to use 2 spaces between sentences. The big move now is you use one space only, so it's like period, 1 space, new capitalized word, right? So I went to the store for milk and left with eggs. I could no longer deny that I needed a vacation. So you see there's only 1 space between the period at the end of eggs and the new sentence that begins with I. And you don't put a period after a title. This is one of my biggest sins. I'm always wanting to put in punctuation. Patricia's always taking it out. So here's an example that might head up that title example that might head up the previous example of vacation needed, right? And in our course, it's taking the mystery out of the punctuation dance. No periods when you're using it as a title. Oh, she's making the high five sign here. She's so excited, but she's not making it with me. She's making it with the air. Okay, so here's a funny grammar tidbit. So that we'll be talking a lot more about parentheses and brackets in other lessons, but I just thought you might want to know that the end of sentence punctuation goes on the outside of closing parentheses, which are really just brackets. When the parentheses are within a sentence. So here's an example. You see in the middle I've got highlighted left with eggs. So that's not a complete sentence, right? So it doesn't need any punctuation. So the period's at the end after vacation. It's not in, if I'd written, you'll see in a minute what I mean. So I went to the store for milk, in brackets, because it's just information I want to add and kind of separate out. Left with eggs, right? They're going to go dingbat. And couldn't remember what I wanted. I could no longer deny that I needed a vacation. So that little bit of tidbit of information put in there is doesn't need a period. So end of sentence punctuation goes inside when a full sentence is in parentheses or brackets. So here's an example. I went to the store for milk and left with eggs. I could no longer deny that I needed a vacation. And then in brackets, it's kind of a side note. By vacation, I meant no kids, no husband, no return ticket. So now the period's there, and it's also another period, obviously at the end of your sentence. It was an implausible realization. Too many people relied on steadfast, responsible me. I'll bet you 50% or more of the people listening could relate to that sentence. I don't know about leaving with the wrong item from the grocery store, but that they need a vacation and can't do it. So periods, because we were talking about periods and exclamation points. So we'll give you some information, tidbit. Most abbreviations need periods. I think you guys probably already know this. So Mr., Mrs., Ms., Junior, Senior, Saint, Mount, Doctor, or Drive, depending on what that one means, Friday and February. But here's something you may not know. So IE is short for that is, or in other words.
Is that from Latin?
Yes, it is. Would you like to tell us what that word would be?
No, because I don't know it.
So don't bring up Latin. Okay, see here, this is fitting. She was the meanest person on staff, i.e., I didn't trust her. So what you're really saying is she was the meanest person on staff. That is, I didn't trust her. Or she was the meanest person on staff, i.e., in other words, I didn't trust her. Okay, so there's a difference between IE and EG. And I didn't know that until a few years ago either. But here's a better writing example, because you don't really have to say in other words or that is, because it's just kind of wordy, right? Same sentence, better written is, she was the meanest person on staff. Didn't trust her. That's all you have to say. So whenever you see yourself adding in IE, you have to ask yourself if you really mean to say that is, or in other words, because that's what you're really writing. Isn't that exciting? Here we go. EG is short for for example. That's hard to say. So he only plays games he can win, e.g. golf and tennis. So if you didn't have the EG, we would think we wouldn't have any idea what games he could win. So examples are, important often when we're writing, but there you go. That's the difference. Notice the period after the I, notice the period after the E. Go down to example. Notice the period after the E. Notice the period after the G. Then you want to notice there's a comma. Because when we write for example, or that is, or in other words, they're beginning phrases, prefacing our sentence, and we have to put a comma. But we'll talk about that in another lesson. By the way, we're not doing commas until the third lesson because commas are, they have a lot of rules and they're super important to writers. Okay, so here's another thing Patricia and I had to look up. We were talking about abbreviations and they're different. So some abbreviations are different in postal codes and in the actual abbreviation. So I don't know why that doesn't say that. So here's Alabama. The formal abbreviation is ALA. The postal abbreviation is AL, all capital. The abbreviation for Alberta, which is in Canada, is ALTA, period. But the postal abbreviation is AB. So don't get confused when you're, maybe doing a biography or naming where a story takes place.
Okay, so we have a question from Margaret and Jerry.
Hi, Margaret and Jerry.
About the comma. And she wants to know why the comma is after the EG.
Because it's, okay, we'll go back to that.
Sorry.
No, it's because this beginning part of the sentence is not part of the complete sentence. So it gets separated out. Do you remember when we did the tag question? Remember that when we added the tag question? Well, prefacing lead-in phrase is also separated out. Where was that? I'll just show you. Where's this? Can you see the one where it says tag? Just let me know if I go by it. No, tag. We're looking for a tag sentence. Okay, here. See this tag comment example? That would be ridiculous, comma, you goof. So it's kind of separated out from the main part of the sentence. And the same thing is when you're, I'm trying to remember what the term is. There's actually a term for this, which we'll be talking about next week. But it's like the beginning part of a sentence, introductory phrase or whatever. So that is like an introductory phrase, right? So that's why. So before you, any of those kind of, this is going to be a big part of the comma. I want to go back to there. So for example is not really part of the rest of the sentence, right? So for example is separated out. It's like an introductory phrase. For example, comma, I didn't trust her. That is, comma, I didn't trust her. So we always do that. There's a lot of times that we put a comma, but we're not really doing commas today, Margaret, but we will, and I'll give you all the proper terminology for them when we do, and way more explanation. But does that kind of, if it's not part of the main part of the sentence, you want to separate it out somehow. Usually a comma.
Okay, well, let's go back to the postal.
Back to postal codes?
Yeah.
I hope that helped, Margaret. Anyways, stay tuned for the comma lesson. I'll explain it in better detail.
Okay, this should be CA, not AL. Zena, let us know that.
Zena! We would never get our letter to anybody in California. There's a typo. Thank you very, very much. You guys are good. So, yeah, no, it's CA. It's CA, isn't it? I don't know why I got AL. Probably because I was doing cut and paste. In Canada, CA is small. I don't know if that's right. Is that right? Yeah, I guess so. Probably CA. In Canada, US is just US. And informal abbreviations are USA or USA without periods or US. And Australia is AU. Yeah, I don't know. I made that mistake. Okay. So USA can also be written USA, no periods. US is better with periods. Otherwise, people think you're saying us, right? And US can be used as a modifier. So a modifier is a word or phrase that describes another word or a group of words. For example, the US policy on immigration. However, if you're talking about the USA as a noun, it's USA is the preferred abbreviation for a noun. So he left the USA, not the US. Although, honestly, left the US is proper English, proper grammar or whatever, but this is the preferred. Just a nuance.
Okay.
Yeah?
We're done. So if we go back to the commas.
We're not doing commas.
We're not?
No, commas is the third lesson. Will you stop?
Well, I just noticed.
Do you want to go to jail?
I made a mistake.
You made a mistake in your, what do you want?
Really good.
Okay, let's have your teaching point. Okay.
So Zena said that the postal abbreviation for California is CA, not AL. She was right. So I wanted to type back to her and said to say thank you, and that we'll correct it, right?
Right.
So I put will correct Zena, thank you, and it should be will correct comma
Zena.
Zena.
Very good catch.
Yes.
Yes, you don't want to correct Zena. She's probably correct enough. Very
That
good.
was-
You were having fun with that. Okay, I like it. Thank you. Okay, so you can't really see the February calendar, but it's got like a heart and some flowers. I thought it was pretty appropriate. So this is the end. Mark your calendar because we're back together again in 2 weeks. So webinars are every other Tuesday. They're no longer every week. We're doing a lot of things with promoting the book. So I have energy to do 1 week of grammar writing and 1 week of promotion. So that's kind of how we're splitting it up. And so the next webinar is on Tuesday, February the 16th. And this is what we're studying. You guys are going to be excited. So we're going to look at adverbs, prepositions, interjections, and conjunctions. Sorry, Patricia, no commas yet. Third lesson. The third lesson is going to be all about commas. Commas are like major to learn about. And we'll also do part 2 of taking the mystery out of the punctuation dance. So we're going to look at interro bangs, which I bet you half of you don't know what those are, so you better run and look them up. Go look up what an interro bang is. Colons, semicolons, and M dashes. And probably 20% of you don't know what M dashes are, so go look them up. Kind of fun. They're great. They're great things to know about. They're really exciting, actually. And we're also going to look at how to tighten and strengthen your prose through vivid action verbs. So the verbs that, tell about us running, walking, and doing things, jumping, etc. So there's Goofy on the left. He seems like he's in a really big hurry. And the only thing I regret is that, how strong is my writing if I have to put vivid action verbs in color? Huh? That's not very good about me, is it? Okay, now you should get us back.
Okay, this is funny.
How come you're back, but I'm not?
I don't know, Mike. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
So Dr. Love, I love this.
Yeah.
She puts in, this session was excellent with 3 exclamation marks. And she goes, oops, that's too many of them. And with a question mark. And
Yeah. 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 Dr. Love,
lesson.
she's fun, but she doesn't, all right, I don't even know if it's a man or a girl. Who's Dr. Love? Who are you really, Dr. Love? You have to tell us. Hi, Joseph. Yeah, and you're always supposed to choose a punctuation mark. Like you're supposed to choose between an exclamation and a question mark, for instance, but with an interrobang, which I'm not telling them what it is. You don't have to. So you better look it up. It's lots of fun. Okay, any more questions, anybody? Okay, so how long was that grammar lesson? Do we know how long we were on?
Well, it's 4 minutes to 8. So
less than an hour.
Less than an hour, but I think you're probably, I don't know, about 50 minutes, I would think.
15 minutes for our actual lesson, half an hour. The thing is that these lessons are all going to build on your knowledge. So you'll start out learning this, and why are you laughing at? And learning that, and then learning more. What? I am a man. Okay. And there's a phone call coming in. Okay.
Right,
So
we're done for today.
see you in 2 weeks. Oh, that's a peace sign. See you in 2 weeks. Peace. And we'll send you out the PowerPoint with the correction in the California abbreviation, postal abbreviation. Thank you very, very much for being part of this and part of our inspirational authorship community. We so love you guys. Bye.
Bye.